Is your fantasy basketball team struggling with making three-point shots? Well, we may have some tools to give you a hand. Coming up next on Beat the Odds, don't go anywhere. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back to another episode of Beat the Odds. We're going to take a look at what you can do if your fantasy basketball team happens to be struggling with making three-pointers. We've got some people that you can target here in trades and some people you can try to pick up off the waiver wires to give you a bit of a boost in making three-point shots here for your team. Now, of course, before we get started, if you guys like this kind of content, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet done so already, and keep an eye out for our Anthony Edwards PSA slab giveaway once we hit 1,000 subscribers. There is a couple of things of note here before we dive into the names. The first thing is we're looking for trades that can be relatively easily made. So anybody who's ranked in the top 40 or so here on leagues, I consider those more untouchable, so I won't really talk on those. We're more looking for players that you can pick up that would be ranked 40 or lower. And then, of course, when you're looking at the waiver wire, we typically like to look at players that you can pick up on the waiver wire that are owned in 60% of leagues or less. Let's dive in for our first names here. We're going to look at some guards, starting with Anthony Simons in Portland. He's ranked 74. 36 minutes per game. He makes 3.6 three-pointers per game here as well. 44% from the field, 90% from the line. He's going to help you out in points and free throw percentage, of course. 21.8 points to go along with that 90% from the line. And it doesn't really help you out much in stocks. He averages 0.9 stocks per game so far this year. Now, of course, Simons is Dame's running mate in Portland, and he does some major damage when Lillard sits. But he kind of takes a bit of a backseat, of course, to Damian Lillard, especially lately with how Lillard's been playing. You're not seeing a whole lot of offensive output here from Anthony Simons. He is a combo guard. He's going to hoist up more shots at the expense of getting assists. So if you're hoping to get more of a pure point guard out of Anthony Simons, he's not the right guy there for you. But if you need to be able to get somebody that's going to be able to help you out in three-pointers, Simons could be your guy. Up next, we're going to go to Miami. Tyler Hero, ranked 53rd. He plays 35 minutes per game, 3.1 three-pointers made per game, 44% from the field, 92% from the line. I like looking at these type of players here who have a bit of a higher or at least average shooting percentage. There are a bunch of players you could pick up on this list here that would rank a little bit lower, but I like Hero at this spot. 5.8 rebounds, 92% from the free throw line. That is his strengths. And of course, he is thrust into a little bit more of a playmaking role in Miami, and he's got a little bit of work to do with that. He is 1.76 assists to turnover ratio, which is not exactly great. You'd ideally like to see that ratio over 2. But he has had a strong first year as a starter. He's always been a solid rebounder there as well for his career. He averages over 5 rebounds per game, and that's pretty good for a guard here. He does need to clean up his turnovers a bit to be considered more of a playmaker. I could see him growing into a 25-5 type of guy pretty easily. He's almost there already. But as it stands right now, he needs to clean up a little bit on those turnovers for sure. There's a person you can take a look at here to pick up off the waiver wire. That'd be Tim Hardaway Jr., 49% owned in Yahoo Leagues, 30 minutes per game here for the season, 2.8 three-pointers made. He shoots 38% from the field, 78% from the line. So those are obvious drags for your percentages. And, of course, most of that is due to the fact that he takes 65% of his shots from the three-point line. So he's very live or die out on the arc there. Now, there is an interesting development in Dallas, of course. Doncic just injured his ankle. We don't really know the severity of that yet. Speculation running rampant here. I would be not shocked to see him miss a few games to get that healed, which might mean that you'll see more usage out of Tim Hardaway over the short term. So he could be somebody that you could pick up here maybe for a week or so to see kind of what happens with Doncic and how that affects Hardaway's minutes and usage for the next little bit. Also, something good to note is for a career, he's actually pretty decent shooter. He's 42% from the field and 81% from the line, so he is quite a bit below that for his averages here so far this year. So there is a potential for regression back to his averages. So this might be a buy low opportunity for you to go and pick up Hardaway there. And if he does return back to those numbers, he would be a certain hold for the rest of the season. Let's take a look at a couple of forwards here. Well, they're more kind of like combo forwards. Buddy Hield, 47th rank in fantasy, 32 minutes per game, 3.8 3-pointers made on 45% shooting from the field, 87% from the line. He's going to help you out in rebounds. He gets 4.9 per game. He's going to help you out in steals with just over 1. And again, he's not exactly the best at assists per turnover, but he's not really counted on as a major playmaker. He's more the secondary playmaker in Indiana. Next to, of course, Halliburton and then McConnell now that filling in for Halliburton here of late. He's a good buy low target there as well. He performs much better with Halliburton on the floor, and Tyrese is another couple of weeks away. So you're going to see a bit of a dip in Buddy Hield's numbers potentially until Halliburton makes it back to the fold. And as a wing here, he has had to be a little bit more of a playmaker. They've asked him to be able to handle the ball a little bit more here. He actually averaged 5 assists, I believe, last year when he came over from Sacramento. So he does have the ability to be an adept passer. So might not be a bad one to consider there if you need to have a couple extra assists for one of your small forward spots. Up next in Golden State, of course, you can't really talk three-pointers made without talking about Klay Thompson. 86th rank, 32 minutes per game, 4 3-pointers made here, which is a career high per game for him. 42% from the field, 89% from the line. He's going to help you out, of course, in points. He's averaging 20 points per game, almost 21 points per game, but he's going to be a bit of a drag in stocks, and field goal percentage this year is actually one of his career lows. 1.0 stocks per game there as well, not helping him out. He is a career 45.5% field goal shooter, and of course he's shooting 42.2 since he has returned from injury there last year. And as mentioned before, he's averaging the most three-pointers made on the most three-pointers attempted that he has put up here in his career. I'm thinking that may speak to perhaps a reduced amount of athleticism out of Klay Thompson since he has returned from injury. Of course, age plays a factor in that there as well. He's getting up there a little bit more in age, so he's not going to be quite as mobile around the rim. Somebody else you can pick up off the waiver wire, we're going to go Malik Beasley in Utah. 45% owned in leagues. You're looking at 27 minutes per game, 3.1 three-pointers made, 40% from the field, 84% from the line. Definitely a bonus from the line there. That 84% is nice to see for somebody who plays a forward spot. Not going to help you out with field goals or with stocks, really. That's not really his game. He's really more a pure shooter. He's not going to be doing a whole lot of crashing the boards, doesn't pass the ball a whole lot. But he certainly lives or dies by the three. He is the player on my list with the least amount of minutes per game. Something of note here, his volume, of course, is tied to the amount of usage that he gets. And that plays into, of course, the availability of a guy like Colin Sexton or Mike Conley. If they're both playing, then you may see some fewer minutes go Malik Beasley's way, unless, of course, he's on a heater, in which case, oftentimes they'll just basically play him until he cools off. So somebody you really need to kind of take a look at if he is performing well over the last game or two, then it might not be a bad idea to put him on your team and see if he can stretch it out for a week or so. If he's in a cold spell, then he's definitely a lot harder to field on a fantasy basketball squad. Now let's take a look at some centers. We're going to start in Charlotte. He plays more of a stretch 4, but he does have center eligibility. PJ Washington, ranked 124, 32 minutes per game. He averages 2 3-pointers made per game on 44% shooting from the field, 77% from the line. He's really going to help you out with stocks. He averages 2.0 stocks per game. He is a drag on rebounding and field goal percentage there as well. Something that you would typically see with a stretch 4. He's not going to crash the boards. Is an active defender, though, so those stocks, you can kind of count on that towards the end of the season. That's really a good mark there, especially in the steals category for a big like that. I would give him a look if you really need 3-pointers and you're strong in rebounds. Then he would be a good guy to put on your team. Or if you have, if you've got like a Rudy Gobert on your squad there, then pairing him up with like a PJ Washington does actually make some sense. Christian Wood is up next here, ranked 59 in fantasy leagues. 29 minutes per game, 1.8 3-pointers made, 54% from the field, 74% from the line. He's going to be helping you out, of course, in field goal percentage, and he blocks 1.3 blocks per game. Bit of a drag in turnovers, 2.1. Stretch big, very similar to PJ Washington, good defensive instincts, but the biggest difference with Christian Wood and PJ is Wood certainly does crash the boards. He's a much more established rebounder than PJ Washington. Susceptible to turnovers, so you got to keep that in mind here when you pick him up. The injury that he just sustained here is a fractured thumb on his non-shooting hand, so it shouldn't really affect him. His shooting kind of going forward, you can kind of expect to see similar numbers once he gets back onto the court. And then somebody to pick up here off the waiver wire, we're going to go to LA. Marcus Morris Sr., 35% owned, 29 minutes per game, 2.0 3-pointers made, 44% from the field, 80% from the line. 80% free throw shooting is really his strength. Similar to PJ Washington, he's not really a rebounder there as well. The biggest difference between him and Washington is that he's not going to be able to get much of the defensive numbers there as well. 1.0 stocks is certainly not what you want to see out of somebody who has center eligibility. But this is nothing new with Marcus Morris. He's been kind of doing this for his whole career. He's going to shoot threes. He plays a little bit of bully ball, which is kind of nice, but he doesn't really jump a whole lot. So he's not getting rebounds. He's not getting blocks. Get him for your 3-pointers, but don't expect you're going to be able to get him for much more than that. And that's going to finish up the list here for us for today. If you like this type of content, again, please like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet already done so. We are going to sign off for now, but we are going to catch you guys on our next episode.